Hello, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Bracken.
And I'm Ariel.
And you're listening to Murder Radio. All right, guys. Hey, how you doing? Hello. I'm Bracken. My wife, Ariel, across the room. We're sitting here, and we're going to record a podcast. We were thinking about it. What's our topic? We chose true crime. We love true crime. My wife is absolutely obsessed with it. If anything ever happens to me, it was probably not Ariel, but you should look at her because she's watched a lot of murder, and she could probably get away with it.
No, I could probably solve it. Definitely could never murder you, but I could definitely solve it.
Okay, so you'd be like the psychic detective.
Yes.
Coming around with your friend and like doing weird hand motions.
Definitely.
Okay, I'm okay with that. Today's case brings us a little close to home. We're going to be talking about Jennifer Fulford and some jerk named Scott that ended her life a little too soon.
Jennifer was a nanny and house manager for a single dad in the Winter Park area. So she took care of his son. She was there in the morning, made breakfast. It was just a normal day.
The single dad's not the same man that killed her.
No.
Okay. We don't need to know his name.
Right.
He's not that important.
He's important, but figured not to name drop him because it's local.
He's already dealing with enough crap already as it is. He doesn't need us talking about him.
Right. She basically took care of his whole life for him. She
ran his life.
Right. And so she took the kid to school. She had a dentist appointment that day. It was just like a normal day. She was supposed to meet someone at the house to hang some art that they had purchased. It was a very high-end area of Winter Park, so an art installer.
Winter Park, as they call it.
Yes, exactly. That's how my grandma used to say it. Winter Park.
Oh, well, we used to live in Winter Park. It is a very nice area.
Right.
I kind of felt out of place several times.
It is a very nice area. So if you can imagine a house that...
The kind of home where you would pay somebody a lot of money to hang a piece of art that you just paid a lot of money for.
Exactly. So I think that really sets the stage for what's going to happen next. Because she had talked to the art installer on the way home. Everything was set for them to meet later in the day. But then after a little while, the lady gets a call and Jennifer says, "Hey, don't come and install the art today. I have to go pick up the kid last minute." So the lady's like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever, we'll just reschedule to install this art another day." But little did she know that she was going to be the last person to talk to Jennifer ever.
Dum, dum, dum.
What happened next is someone shoves into the house while she's picking up a package from the front door. So the guy, Scott. Scott pushes in and holds her hostage. He said...
Was the kid there?
No, the kid was at school.
Oh, she hadn't picked up the kid yet.
No, that was just a ruse for her to tell the art installer not to come. That was probably just the first thing that she could think of.
What was she going to do? Why was she trying to get everybody to skip out?
Because she didn't want someone to come while the house is being robbed. I don't know. I'm not...
Was she already hostage when she called the art person?
They think so, yes.
Okay.
So
So he's got her sitting on the ground and she's like, "Oh, no, there's someone coming." He's like, "You better tell her not to come."
Right.
Okay. All right. The plot thickens.
He robs the house. He came in. He was hungry on the streets. He had just got out of prison, pretty recently, and he was living with a family who he was working for them, but then I guess his parole officer called the family and was like, "This guy shouldn't be living with you because he is a criminal."
What did he go to jail for?
I think he robbed a bank or something.
A bank robber.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what he went to jail for. But he was there for 25 years.
He went to prison for 25 years?
Yeah.
And he got out?
Yeah.
And he was living with a strange family?
Right, because they gave him a job. Like, he's trying to reintroduce himself to society.
Maybe it was a halfway home or something. That could have made sense. But don't your parole officers normally, like, want you to succeed?
But maybe they wanted him to, like, not live with the family, like, live with someone else.
He just didn't trust him. He knew. His parole officer, this whole time, should have listened to him.
Well...
That guy's sitting somewhere saying, I told you so.
Looking back, like, the murderer blames everything on the parole officer because he said that he actually intended to murder the parole officer. But then he decided that he was going to rob a house instead.
That's a logical jump.
Right, like, oh, let me just not murder the parole officer and go rob a house instead. And what's crazy about all of this is, like, 2 weeks before, he actually went to Walmart and bought a knife, duct tape, like, all the things, zip ties, all the things you would need to, like, hold someone hostage. Which, like, don't you think somebody should say, like, if somebody goes into Walmart and they're buying these things, and shouldn't someone, like, trip an alarm to say, like, hey, these things probably shouldn't all be purchased together?
I don't know. I mean, he bought duct tape, a knife. What else?
Zip ties.
Zip ties. What else?
'Cause,
like, immediately I think of, like, every hunter who ever, like, went out, built a deer blind or a duck blind.
Okay. That's fair.
Duct tape, you just need duct tape all the time. People who buy lots of duct tape probably wear a knife because they need to cut said duct tape or fix things like ducks with a T.
That's fair.
And then zip ties. I don't know about zip ties.
You should just, like, have to sign a waiver or something, like,
What?
I'm not going to do anything.
I'd like to buy this duct tape, and yes, I'm not killing somebody with it.
Duct tape, zip ties, and a knife. Like, those types of things together. There should be a
That's insane.
list. There should be a list.
No.
He had bought all of these things, so he was planning something
Home improvement.
suspicious.
Renovation.
He
Hunting.
is in the house for about 4 hours. We have no idea what he does in the house for 4 hours, but basically he says he doesn't remember, which...
That's convenient.
Yes, Bracken listened to the court videotape, and man, it just makes your blood boil.
Well, you realize, like, this guy is actually a jerk. And you, like, oh, that guy could have killed somebody.
He's definitely a narcissist because
100%.
he makes the entire situation about himself. So he says, oh, you know, everyone in Winter Park is so rich and I'm out here starving on the streets. Like, sorry, but that's not a reason to murder someone.
My favorite part was when he said, I don't know, ask her. They're like, dude, she's dead. She's got, like, a bajillion stab wounds in her. What do you mean, ask her? 4 hours. He's in this house for 4 hours. We don't know what he did.
Right.
Does he tell us what he did?
No, I think he probably, like, ate, like, stole some things.
That's a long time to have somebody hostage.
Right.
You think they watched a movie?
Hopefully not.
Maybe they were listening to a true crime podcast.
Probably not.
No? Okay.
Who knows what happened?
He's
But
checking the Netflix subscription.
he actually, like, didn't even remember how long he was in the house for.
Oh, he knew how long he was there
He
for.
told the court, like, oh, well, look at the entries for when the door opened and closed. Because it was, like, that kind of wealthy house that, like, when you open the door, there's, like, a lock somewhere that tells you.
That's a different kind of wealth. I just don't know.
But he definitely wasn't in the game to, like, steal anything crazy, because after he left the house, he put her in the trunk. He zip tied her. He duct taped her, like, whole face. They said the duct tape was, like, so tight on her face that it was, like, cutting off her circulation. And he goes to the ATM and he takes out $300
Of her money?
of her money. Like, he uses her ATM card to take out $300.
Wow, big spender.
Right, like, all of this for $300?
Listen, if you're in the mindset to kill somebody, it doesn't matter. It's not a monetary thing.
But he said his goal wasn't to murder her. Like, really, he wanted the money, like, because he was so hungry.
Then why didn't he just like, hey, give me your money and then leave?
Because she would testify against him and he'd go to jail. So even though she was pleading for her life, he still murdered her in a random field.
Oh, we're jumping ahead?
Oh, well, that's what happens next. He literally goes to the ATM, takes out $300, and then he murders her in a field.
He just drove somewhere and murdered her.
Yes.
What?
Yep.
How?
She had 2 superficial stab wounds on her back, and then
now, what does that mean for all of us lay people out here? What is a superficial? Does that mean it's like not real?
No, I think it just means like those were not as deep, so they just like broke the surface, but they didn't they wouldn't have killed her.
Like you stab somebody in the butt, muscle that won't kill them.
Maybe it has to do with.
I actually have no idea where you would stab somebody and it wouldn't kill them. I just assume you stab somebody and they die.
No, I think it's like the depth of the stab wound.
Okay, so it's like a little stab versus a big stab.
Right. Like maybe like how far you swing your arm back.
No, it's got to be how far the stab goes.
Right.
Oh, I don't want to say it.
Because she had 5 deeper stab wounds in her chest.
Ooh.
And the duct tape was all over her face and mouth, extremely tight.
He didn't stab her in the face, did he?
No, he didn't. And she also had her wrists and her ankles were bound.
So basically duct tape saved her from getting her face stabbed.
Probably. She didn't really care, though. You know?
Maybe. She's probably worried about other things.
Yeah. I guess she was pleading for her life, and he still did that anyway, and then he went and he ditched her car and went to the train station, and he got a pizza
with his $300.
With his $300 and ate the whole pizza, and he was really happy.
I'd imagine killing somebody would work up quite the appetite.
Yeah, I'm sure he was really hungry.
Well, he didn't eat anything for 4 hours while he messed around in the house. Maybe he was raiding the pantry, and he got so mad because they didn't have good snacks because they were on a health kick.
Maybe.
He didn't know he was breaking into a Whole30 house. No snacks, and they're all gluten-free. So he was like, oh, cool, I'll just eat some cheese. Nope. Not in the house. He's like, all right, I'll just scramble an egg. Sorry, don't have that. He's like, that's all right, I'll just make some toast. Nope. Not today, Satan. All they had was carrots and broccoli, and he was pissed.
I'm sure that's exactly how it went down.
Well, I know that we keep good snacks here. So if someone's going to rob us and they're hungry, I'll be like, yo, dude, I got some snacks. Help yourself.
Yeah, I'd be like, you want me to make you some mac and cheese?
Like, all right, make you a deal. I'll make you food, and then you leave. How's that sound? I feel like if you were hungry and you were trying to break into my house and I offered that to you, I'd give you a cold beer and some macaroni. I'm trying to think what we have.
You're also like a big guy, though, so like you'd scare someone away. Like I'm like a normal-sized girl, and
some massive dude's just like, hey, I'll make you macaroni and then you leave, okay? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. If someone was trying to kill us, they probably would kill me first because they'd be worried about me.
They probably like would just run away. I really don't think that you could be murdered.
They'd break in and be like, oh, crap.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, that dude's really big.
I'm not that big.
You're like
I'm like
6
normal.
foot
I'm like
tall.
normal big.
You're like a football player big.
No, I'm not that big.
Okay.
I'm
beg to
only
differ.
6'2".
Bracken's 6'2".
They don't need to know this. You guys don't need to know this.
Okay. We'll cut that out.
Would you like my social security number as well? I mean,
so basically at this time, Jennifer doesn't pick up the kid from school
because she's dead.
Because she's
laying in a field with superficial and superfactual stab wounds?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. She's got fake and real stabs.
So they start to panic because they keep calling her and her phone goes right to voicemail.
So it's turned off.
Right. because in something that I read, it said that she just had a grandbaby born on that day, so her phone was ringing off the hook because they were like trying to tell her like, hey, you're a grandma.
Jennifer Fulford was a grandmother?
Yes.
So she died the day she became a grandmother?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. It's really sad. Like, can you imagine trying to call like...
Well, I could never imagine being a grandmother, but...
But like, say you were trying to call your mom to tell her like, hey, I just had a baby, and then you couldn't get in touch with her.
Yeah, that would suck. Mm-hmm. It's a bummer.
Yeah, so her boss like tried to get in touch with her, couldn't, because her phone was turned off. And then he called her husband, and he also couldn't get in touch with her. And so then they filed a police report. And the guy who murdered her, he tried to go back to the ATM to get more money out. But by that time, like, they already had put a stop on the card, so he couldn't get any more money. So really all he got out of this was $300.
So I was just reading the show notes. You forgot to tell everybody where he got a pizza from.
Oh, he got a pizza from 7-Eleven.
Okay, first off, what? That is like...
The worst pizza ever.
Why would you spend... I'm 7-Eleven, if you're listening to us, you want to sponsor a show, great, we'll eat your pizza and talk about it. But I will be honest and tell you that what in the world are you thinking? Like, you must be a crazy person to be like, oh, I just came into some money and I killed somebody. 7-Eleven sounds good. No. It's where you go when you're, like, drunk after partying all night because you need a Red Bull and one of those little spinning hot dogs on the hot dog wheel thing.
Have you ever had one of those hot dogs?
Yeah.
Okay, I have not.
I've had one sober and I've had one drunk. And they taste way better after you've been having a good night.
I mainly only get, like, snacks from there, like chips and, like, Snicker bars, things like that, from 7-Eleven.
And Slurpees.
And Slurpees, yeah.
Ooh, Slurpee.
I'm surprised he didn't get a Slurpee.
A Slurpee and a pizza. Mm-hmm. That's like job well done after you killing somebody.
And they just didn't mention it.
But he got a pizza from 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
Which, if you're doing that, you're probably crazy enough to kill somebody. So reevaluate yourself. If you as a young child killed animals and now you eat whole pizzas from 7-Eleven, maybe you should go talk to somebody.
Definitely.
Because you could be a killer.
That's really what pushed everything over the edge for Bracken right here. It's a 7-Eleven pizza.
That's gross.
Yeah.
Like, you could be a jerk and kill people. And you're a jerk. But, like, eating 7-Eleven pizza?
Like, after you murder someone. Or just in general?
In general.
Oh, okay. So he gets on the train, goes to Jacksonville, and he's there for 3 days before they catch him. But it was, like, really easy to catch him because he was a really terrible criminal. And first of all, he went to an ATM, and you could see his face. So they immediately were like, we know who this guy is.
Oh, look, some old white guy with glasses.
Right, and he left, like, behind his fingerprints and all that jazz everywhere. He was definitely not a professional criminal.
He's the best kind of killer, right? The kind that gets caught.
Right.
Actually, the best kind of killer is the one that sissies out and doesn't do it.
Exactly.
And then reevaluates their life and goes on to, like, do awesome things like cure sickness. That's actually never happened, but if that would be the ideal criminal. But this guy, might as well, if you're going to be a criminal, suck at it so that the police can catch you and you can do the crime and pay the time.
Right. So he was in Jacksonville for about 3 days before they arrested him. And he ended up getting convicted of the murder, and he got life in prison.
So he went back to prison for $300
yes.
and a 7-Eleven pizza.
Yeah.
He should have just stole the money.
And he made the whole thing about himself. He was like, woe is me. I was abused in prison. I had this horrible life. And he actually asked for the death penalty because he didn't want to go back to prison. But everyone was like, sucks to suck. I'm sorry, you're actually going to have to go back to prison.
Yeah, if you kill somebody and you're like, hey, I want to die so I don't have to go back to prison. Prison sounds terrible. I'm like, let's send you back to prison.
Right, like, that's probably where you need to be.
Unless you're in, like, Texas or somewhere that has the death penalty. And in which case, they're putting fast lanes on that.
He was like, I'm a homicidal maniac. You should put me to death. And they were like, no.
You're just stupid. Enjoy prison. He kind of sucks at being a criminal.
Yeah, he was not a very good criminal. But it's really sad because she didn't have to die. And it was just...
Definitely not for $300.
Well, and it was one of those, like, random things. Horrible. Well, she was a loving mother and grandmother, and everyone said she was an amazing person. And
I bet she was. It's always the people who are doing good in the world that bad things like this happen to.
Definitely.
Like, you don't ever hear on the serial rapist was murdered this weekend by a serial killer. No, they're like, they don't do that to each other. The criminals, they got a code. They're like, oh, you're doing bad? All right, leave you alone. Let's go get this nice lady over here. Got her life together, working, about to be a grandma. Maybe she was going to be a Gigi or a...
Oh,
that's a very
Gigi.
Southern name.
I like that because her name was Jennifer, so like...
Yeah, but it's like
Jennifer,
Southern
Gigi,
as it gets.
Grandma.
I don't know. She's about to be a Gigi. They're like, that one. Also, 7-Eleven pizza.
Moral of the story.
Don't eat 7-Eleven pizza. Also,
don't murder people.
Don't murder people.
But yeah, that just happened in 2017. So that's not that long ago. But luckily, he's already been convicted. And he's in jail somewhere.
So it's been about 2 years. He's really starting to settle in that, like, I'm stuck here.
Yeah. Actually, the only reason he said he confessed was that he could, like, be treated better in prison. But, like, I'm sure he's not.
Maybe they have, like, a code.
But, like...
If you go to prison as a killer, you're like, don't mess with that guy. He's a killer.
So this is what he said. He said he wanted his own cell. He wanted a bottom bunk in the cell. Like...
He's getting picky.
Yeah. He, like, got really picky like that. He was like, I love to see them squirm. So I just, like, decided to make a deal.
Every Tuesday, I would like an ice cream sundae with 1.5 bananas.
1.5? Not
yeah. I mean, I feel like if you're going to be high maintenance, you have to be wasteful.
Okay. I see it. I see it.
1.5 bananas and freshly made chocolate syrup sauce, which probably came out of the inmate's toilet, like Pruno. Prison wine.
Yeah, so he wanted to be really picky about it. But I'm
to
sure he's like in...
white collar prison.
Right.
He wanted the lavish treatment, caviar at 3.
Do you think like he has a roommate in prison after all of this? Like, do you think that they would do that to him?
I hope he has the meanest prison roommate ever.
I hope he has like 3 roommates. So it's like a
put him in a 4-room and like 2 of his roommates don't shower. One guy has this foot thing. It smells like... I'm just thinking, how do we make it most uncomfortable for this guy? One guy farts a lot. The other guy's humming like the worst songs ever all the time. And then the other guy, he sleep talks, but like in a different language. So you actually don't know what he's saying, but he's screaming. That sounds terrible.
So if you're listening to us, Scott Edward Nelson, I hope you're having a terrible time in prison.
Yeah, I don't want you to die there, but like, that sucks, bro. Should have done it.
Well, you know, life in prison, like, isn't actually like your whole lifespan.
Really?
Yeah. So sometimes it could mean like 15 years.
That's not life in prison.
But that's what they call it, life in prison.
That's if you get paroled.
Oh, but he does not have a possibility of parole, so he probably will be in prison forever. I hope that's what that means, right?
Yes, get him off the street. You know what his last meal is going to be, right?
7-Eleven pizza.
7-Eleven pizza.
Well, thank you to the Orlando Sentinel and Reporting Live from My Sofa on YouTube for all of the information that we gathered for this murder.
Go subscribe to them.
Yeah, reporting live from my sofa, he was really fun to watch.
In other news, let's talk about something a little less dark and sad. What have we been watching that's true crime related?
Honestly, my favorite things are true crime related. It's really hard for me to watch things like movies and TV shows that aren't crime related, if I'm being honest here. But one of the favorite ones...
Please be honest.
I'm definitely being honest. We watched Waco, which is on Netflix, and it was incredible.
Is that a crime? Or is that just kind of like crazy?
I definitely consider it a crime. So maybe it was one-sided on the...
Who performed the crime? Because, I mean...
I know who.
If you haven't seen this mini-series on Netflix, it is very well produced, and it's a recreation of the story of the Branch Davidians with David Koresh in Waco, Texas in the early 80s and 90s. When was it?
90s.
In the 90s.
Like when we were born.
Like, yeah. So in the early 90s, there was this group of people out in... What was the name of that town?
Right outside of Waco.
Yeah, Texas has a bunch of really crazy named cities. So just call it like Top of the Hill, Texas or whatever. And they had a little compound. They lived out there. Some people called them hippies. Some people called them a cult. But basically, this is a Netflix reproduction of the story and what went down. And I got to tell you, I knew what happened. I went to college in Waco, but I think a lot of people are going to kind of see a more David-sided story.
Yes, it's definitely the other side of the coin. So it's based off of a book by a Branch Davidian, and
that escaped.
That escaped.
Spoiler: they didn't all die.
And then also the FBI side of it, where he was the one communicating with David Koresh, the interrogator.
All I'm saying is, if you enjoy history or drama or true crime, go watch Waco on Netflix. It was a really fun watch. And even though it's from the opposite side of the coin, it still doesn't make the David Koresh look any better. But, it did not make that FBI guy look good at all.
No.
But let's not spoil it too much for him.
I'm not going to spoil it, but I am going to say that my whole life, I've thought that this whole situation was very similar to Jonestown.
Where they drank the Kool-Aid.
Where they drank the Kool-Aid and it was a mass suicide. And I am fired up. Y'all need to go watch it. It was crazy seeing Tim Riggins lead a cult.
Oh my gosh, from Friday Night Lights.
Yes.
That's who that was.
Yes.
I was like, this guy looks oddly familiar. He's not jacked, and he doesn't have, like, amazing flowy hair, and he's not wearing a fur-lined coat, and he's not driving a Bronco, but, like, it's okay. He's still kind of dreamy.
And some may say that he looks a little bit like Tom Brady.
He does.
But incredible casting.
Tom Brady, if you're out there listening and football doesn't work out for you, you could always be an actor. When they remake Friday Night Lights, you could be Tim Riggins when he gets older.
I love it.
Or you could be Dave Koresh in any other future remakes. If you've ever wanted to be a crazy cult leader, you got it, dude.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So definitely go watch that. That one is on Netflix. And then another one that is on Netflix was Unabomber, in his own words. Usually I hate watching shows where the killer is talking. I don't know, something about like...
I don't want to give him the time of day.
Right. I hate to watch things that like glorify the murderer. But it was so interesting because you really got to like see the whole timeline of the situation. And I was obsessed. We watched all 4 episodes.
I fell asleep after like the first 5 minutes.
As you always do.
That's true.
So I'm definitely going to have to make Bracken watch it again.
And not fall asleep.
This time.
Because I was definitely there the whole time it was playing, just passed out.
It definitely got to the point where it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like 15 minutes away from finishing, and he woke up.
My turn.
Okay.
I See You. Holy crap.
This was another one that I watched, or Bracken and I watched, but then he fell asleep. But it was so crazy that I had to rewatch it with him.
Do I fall asleep all the time during these things?
Yes.
Why is true crime so relaxing? That should not be a thing. How do you fall asleep at night? Oh, I listen to the recanting tales of murder and crime.
You know, it's all about the way it sounds. Like, we love to watch Case File.
Is he the Australian guy?
Yeah. Listen to Case File. Oh my
gosh. That man has a voice. No one knows who he is either.
He's an anonymous.
He's secret, like us.
Podcaster.
You don't know who we are, but you probably do because one of us probably shared this with you.
But so this I See You movie on Amazon.
Go watch it right now. Stop the podcast. It's almost done. You've heard all of it. Great. We don't have an ad. There's no ad roll. You want to put one in? Great. Contact us. But it's on Amazon. It's called I See You. Make sure you give yourself an amount of time to watch it. And don't stop it because you're not going to be able to. Also, it's a good idea to watch it when the sun's up. And I don't know. Only thing else I can tell you is check your attic. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
That's probably a good way to end it. Check your attic and
lock your doors, check the attic, and make sure your windows are locked.
Just be careful out there.
Be careful out there. We're going to come up with a catchy slogan eventually to say at the end of these things.
Yeah, it'll be fun. But since this is the first time, we'll just tell you to check your attic, be careful out there, and we'll see you next time.
I'm Bracken.
And I'm Ariel.
And this is Murder Radio.